everybody. Good morning. Welcome back to another edition of Crafting and Crime Daily. Where have I been? I know, on vacation, but waiting for a new trial to start. I've been back from vacation since Tuesday, Monday. Monday. But we needed a new trial. Now, I do have an episode on the conclusion of the Lucy Letby case. We don't have a verdict, but all of the evidence is in. But we have a new trial. We're going to go up to the state of Arizona. Yeah, so why am I not diamond painting? Because I finished the diamond painting I was working on. Here is a clip of it. Pretty cool, huh? So I'm not starting another one until my event starts. Myself and Mickey Sunshine Create are doing an event called The Great Escape. If you want to sign up, I will link the Google form down in the description where you can sign up to be part of the event. The theme is fantasy, like places you would want to go that are fantasy. Not places you want to go that just you're never going to get there. Like I want to go to Ireland, but you know, that's it's a fantasy, yeah. But that's not what we mean by fantasy. So Mickey and I have picked out a canvas called Fairy Town. And they're like little fairy houses. Now that's where I'd want to go. I want to live in a little fairy house in the woods. I will be showing you guys that in my next live. But today, let's talk about this new case. This is a case out of Arizona versus Michael Turney. Michael Turney. It started yesterday. They picked a jury before the holiday, July 4th. They came back yesterday. Opening statements were yesterday. And I got to tell you, this is a weird case. Very weird. Yeah, I've got my coffee. I'm going to put it aside. Oh, I ran out of my favorite creamer and I'm using this French vanilla that I bought my sister. And she's like, oh, I don't drink French vanilla. I've lived with her how long? And I didn't know she didn't drink French vanilla. Anyway, I said, okay, let me drink it. It's terrible. I know. Okay. But waste not, want not. I don't want to spill it either. Okay, let's talk about this case. This is a case, a cold case. Yes, it happened in 2001, and the case is being tried in 22 years later in 2023. So this is regarding the 19-year-old stepdaughter, Alissa Turney. She's the stepdaughter of Michael Turney. Now, Michael, he met his wife when Alissa was I think she was 3 years old when they got married. So it was a very blended family. He brought to the marriage his three boys, and she brought Alissa. Then they had another baby, Sarah, between the two of them. Well, as it turns out, Alyssa's mother passes away when she's 9 years old of cancer. Now, there's a lot of background to this story that I don't know if it's going to come into the trial or not. There's a lot of conjecture that Michael Tierney may have been sexually abusing Alissa. I don't know if that's going to come into the trial. And I listened to the openings, and frankly, I don't know what the evidence is going to show. That that's your opportunity. That's the prosecutor's opportunity to tell us what is the evidence going to show. I don't know. It's entirely circumstantial because here's what happened. Alissa Turney, normal 17-year-old girl. She's going to Paradise Valley High School in Arizona. Last day of school, they're going to let the kids out early. It's the last day. She's a junior. She's going to be a senior next year. She's all excited. She's got her boyfriend. She's just a normal kid, normal 17-year-old girl. She works at Jack in the Box. And I know there's no Jack in the Boxes around here. It's a fast food hamburger joint if you're not familiar with it. So she works at Jack in the Box, And the last day of school, she goes to her boyfriend's shop class, interrupts him, says, "Hey, my dad is here to pick me up early. I'll catch up with you later." So she gets in the car with her father. She's never seen again. Never seen. The last person to eye her was her boyfriend. So I expect he will take the stand. Now, he's what, 20? He's going to be in his late 30s at this point. Yeah. So this is May 17th of 2001 that she just vanishes. They never find her. They never find her body. And it is a very difficult case for a prosecutor to try a case where there is no body. Although most of the ones that I've seen, they've gotten convictions without the body, but it's a difficult road ahead of them. Yeah. So here are the children, John, James, and Rhett. Now, by the time Alissa is 17 years old, the boys are grown, they're out of the house. So the people living in the home are Alissa, her sister Sarah, her younger sister Sarah, and her father, Michael. Now, Michael is said to be very, very protective of his girls to a flaw. Like, this guy is the textbook definition of paranoid. He, like, in 2001, it was not a thing for everyone to have surveillance, like it is today. Everybody's got a ring camera, everybody's got surveillance on their house. He had it back in 2001. Two different cameras. One that Sarah and her sister did not know about. It was in the living room. And one was on the kitchen door entrance and the driveway. Like, you could see people coming and going. Both of those cameras malfunctioned or weren't working properly, or the footage is disappeared from the day that Alissa disappeared. No footage. Now, in an interview that Michael Turney did years later with 2020, he says there was footage from that day, but it didn't have anything on it to show, so he got rid of it. But this was a man who was known to keep it all, not just use it over again. Like, the usually the surveillance footage, you can just use it again, use the tape over and over again. He had he also had his phone. Um, I guess it was an answering machine. I don't know what it was. But it would record every whatever it was we had back in 2001. It would record all of the phone calls, and he had tapes upon tapes upon tapes of old phone calls going back to 1991. Yeah, he just collected them. But you know what? No tapes. Nope, no tapes that give us any clue about the whereabouts of Alissa Turney. So Alissa goes missing. Dad goes to pick up, Michael Turney goes to pick up Sarah from her school. She was in junior high. He goes to pick her up. Also, her last day, he picks her up, and he says that he and Alissa, he picked up Alissa. They went to have lunch. Then they got into an argument and they went back home, and that's the last place he saw her. He had to go do some shopping, and then he picked up Sarah. He brings Sarah home. No Alissa. She's not there when they get home. So they go into Alissa's room. The contents of her backpack are dumped all over the floor, and there is a note. And I took a picture of the note. Here's what the note says. And it is in Alissa's handwriting. It says, it says, Dad and Sarah, when you dropped me off at school today, I decided that I really am going to California. Sarah, you said you didn't want me around. Look, you got it. I'm gone. That's why I saved my money. Dad, I took $300 from you, Alissa. Not love, Alissa. Not hugs and kisses, Alissa. Alissa. Now, they had an aunt that lived in California. So later that evening, Michael calls the police, reports that she has run away. Doesn't report it as a missing persons, just reports that she has run away. So the police do absolutely no investigation. They don't look at anything in the house. They don't. Nothing. They don't do an investigation at all. But dad immediately goes into flyer mode. Like he's going to produce flyers and he's going to go all over the neighborhood searching for her. But whenever he talks to the police, it's like, oh, she's just a runaway. No, no problem. No, don't worry. She'll come back. She'll come back. Unfortunately, she doesn't come back. She's never heard from again. She had saved from her job at Jack in the Box $1,800 in her bank account. That was never touched. No one ever touches this money. Never shows up at her aunt's house in California. Now, Sarah remained very, very vocal over the years about the disappearance of her sister. She tried very, very hard in every kind of social media that she could get their attention to keep her sister in the forefront, and help find her sister. But it just never materialized. One of the things I forgot to mention is that when the father shows up to pick up Sarah, he didn't pick her up at the school. She waited for him to pick her up at the school. He doesn't show up because he's shopping, and she goes to a friend's house. They had a field trip that day. Last day of school, they had gone to a water park, so she takes the fun over to her friend's house, and then her dad picks her up from the friend's house. So that's a detail that I wanted to get correct. Now, some other interesting aspects of this case is Sarah, uh, Alissa doesn't take anything with her. Her clothes are still in the closet. A necklace that her boyfriend gave her that she wore all the time is there. Her cell phone is there. Now, Sarah didn't have a cell phone, but dad, Michael Turney, and Alissa had a cell phone. She didn't take her cell phone. She didn't take her makeup. She just didn't take anything. She never touched the money in her bank account, just disappears. So at some point after her disappearance, Michael Turney says he got a phone call from California and that this was her and that she was yelling at him. Now, despite him having recorded every single phone call in this house back to 1991 at least, this one doesn't get recorded. Now, police are later able to show that, yes, he did get a call from California. But according to Sarah, the sister, he was always going back and forth to California. Back and forth. Yeah. They had other relatives that lived in California. So there's no body, there's no crime scene, there's no blood evidence, there's no DNA evidence. How are we going to connect the dots with this guy? Well, and I don't know if this is going to come in, but this family has some really weird things going on with it. The mother at one point had called Child Protective Services to report Michael for abusing, maybe sexually abusing Alissa, and she has her examined. We don't know what the results of that exam were, but she passes away shortly thereafter from cancer. The day she passed away was the day after her life insurance. Well, the day before her life insurance expired. What? At that point, she was home on morphine that he would administer. And he apparently wasn't administering it according to how the label said to administer it. He would withhold it till she was in great deal of pain, and then he would overdose her with it. So it's believed he may have overdosed his wife on morphine the last day her life insurance was intact. Now, that was never proven in a court of law, but later on down the line, the police raid his home and find a gigantic stash of weapons, bombs, like all this stuff. He had this paranoia that he at one point had been part of an electrical union, and he said that he was injured on the job and he had some kind of lawsuit against the union that apparently was settled at some point, and at that point their family had quite a bit of money coming into the house. But he was paranoid that the union was after him. He even tried to say that it was people from this union that kidnapped Alissa. I don't know. But he was going to raid the union place where it was, and he was going to blow it up. I don't know. Anyway, he was sentenced to 10 years in jail for all of that material that was found in his home. Guns, yeah, just the entire stash. Now, I don't know if that's going to come into this case. I don't know if anything that I'm telling you is going to come into this case, but just really, really strange. So supposedly, this cold case had been investigated multiple times in the past, but it was suspected that Michael Turney was behind her disappearance, but they didn't want to try him until he got out of prison for the weapons charges, the 10 years that he served. And then even when he got out, they still didn't try him. So I don't know what prompted them all of a sudden to arrest him and try him now. I'm really anxious to hear what is the evidence against this guy. Because I tell you what, I don't know. Apparently, he would tell people that Alissa had ADHD, ADD. She didn't. She was never diagnosed with ADD. He was described as a person that was very litigious. He was always wanting to sue people. What else did I learn? I think that's about it. Yeah. So he's got an excuse for the reason the surveillance footage did not catch Alissa coming or going from the house. Uh, he's got an excuse for why there was no phone recording that particular day, even though he records absolutely everything. Um, so it's going to be a very, very interesting trial. We're going to have to see how this case proceeds. So I just listened to the prosecution's opening and the defense's opening. Unfortunately, long crimes, for some reason, they the judge sent the jury to lunch after the prosecution's opening statement. And then as soon as they were coming back from lunch, he was supposed to pick up with the defense's opening statement. And Long Crime picked it up like halfway through their statement. So I didn't catch the whole thing, which is disappointing. It happens. It's YouTube. But today I'm going to listen to what witnesses were on the stand yesterday. And I do know the first witness was a very good friend, a close friend of Alissa's. So I'm curious about what she has to say. Sarah is very involved and is of the opinion that her father is responsible for the disappearance of her sister. And I'm sure we're going to hear her take the stand. I'm sure we'll hear from the boyfriend. But what are we going to hear that's going to convince a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that Michael Turney actually murdered his daughter? Okay. Yep. So what am I working on today? Let me show you what I'm working on. We're done with that. I have one of my gnome things out. Yep. I'm working on the scuba girl gnome for July. We're going scuba diving. I'm doing the female gnome. Oh, this is the female gnome. She's going to have this gold hair. They've got it in sort of a brown, and the glasses, she's got goggles on. I've got this really fun color for the goggles. It's sort of a sparkly blue that'll almost be like the ocean reflecting off of the goggles. But the border is going to be this light blue, which is what you're seeing here. This is the bottom part of the first ponytail. Actually, it goes like this. There you go. Yep. So I'll be working on that for the rest of the month, doing some cross stitch and keeping you guys informed on what's going on in live trials. So I hope you enjoyed the content today. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Share this with a friend who you might think would enjoy listening while they craft. And I will see you in tomorrow's episode. Yes, there's going to be a Saturday episode of Crafting and Crime Daily. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.